Um, I will share with you the simplicity of it. When you're experiencing the EFFI field, the one is informing you of what's going on. That means I know what's going on before you do. Okay, you see how that works when it comes to speed and the acceleration of learning. And so that's guardian because it means you're with the one. The one is I am what you are of everything I'm giving love to, which is the whole creation, all creation. That's polarity integration. You cancel out the polarities. Now you're experiencing the eternal spirit of fire. And so one of the ways that I can share this with you, particularly about some of the stuff that the Voyager materials with that beautiful indigo presenter who had a presentment contract, right? Just got another redirect to try and distract me from the flow of the energy that you experience through me. That's how it works, right? It's a weaponized communication platform. All your PCs, everybody that's using is a weaponized system. That means we're choosing to use our consciousness to operate, if you will, as an adjunct or an accessory. Okay? This is not easy for me to explain, to share this with you. Okay? Because I'm very aware of it, and I was aware of it before I came in here. Okay? Because we knew what was going to get built. Much like I put up the picture before. They can't create anything. A deadlight magnet cannot create anything. It can only get you to create the system that you're going to use against yourself. That's all your laptops. I know that's going to be difficult for Karen, okay, because she's using a deadlight magnet communication system, and technically on the Nuremberg Doctrine, even though she put all those documents up, it means we can be prosecuted for using these phones because it means that we're allowing our energy to be used to build the communication system that we're using that is weaponized. So that means that I'm using my energy, okay, to run a weaponized system. That's against the law of one. I'm still at 4 years of age and knowing this. That's why I got the signal a year ago. I know. I got to get rid of the phone. Psst. Right? But you can understand why I would still communicate to all of you because this is the last dance. Okay, so it was going to be in America, and why was that? The simple math doesn't lie between fire and ice and the relationship between 1 and 3, right? And if you will, something that Patty Broussard mentioned, but we already know this, which is based on self-replicating organisms, right? They want to grow a network so that we all experience what love is. It goes on forever. That's one communication system network. It's communicating with each other telepathically so that we're all experiencing what love is. It goes on forever. There's that communication system that we built, right? And then there's another communication system that was built using our energy through deadlight magnets. So the only way that this communication system that we're using to communicate with each other needs our energy to run it until our energy is gone. Now, for me, that doesn't sound very intelligent, does it? When you're choosing to have a relationship with something that's dead as a means to communicate to something else that's living, right? So what does this have to do with, what was it, 2.1? What's 2 and 1? 3? Now we're back to fire and ice. Relationship between molecules, thermal gradients, right? Now we're back to fire, the eternal spirit of fire. Cool that fire down, right? 1 unit will put out, cool, 300. Whoa, now we're back to the 300, right? And this is related to reproductive. Now, you can also do this through the electromagnetic radiation waveform harmonics ratio, which is rate, raw, TIO, 0, 0 errors, 0 mistakes. The math and the geometry are perfect. Because you're experiencing the highest accelerated rate of what? Electrons being gifted. Because you can't compress that much energy. It wants to expand and expand and expand. That means it's learning at the highest rate of speed. It's learning through the one. Because we're not holding on to one electron. That's called a gifted student because that student is gifting electrons forever, not holding on to one electron. That's what made it so challenging for me when I was a kid. I can't function in this environment. Because it means I got to hold on to one electron. In order to do what? Figure it out. now we're back to my roadmap. So when I lit myself on fire, which is the full phosphorus ignition, I used metaphorical terms used in the English language that we load into RAM to communicate to others why we came in here. So I euphemistically call that, you know what it means to be a slave battery, right? So, for example, I worked at a company called Hex Engineering, but I worked at another company that was called Kelsey Axle and Brake. So we were what were known as blue-collar workers, and they had what they call white-collar workers, right? The folks in the office, right? They're running the production and the schedules and got to pay their light bill. A B-ill, right? Voltage meters. So I'm working out in the factory, listening to all the noise, right, of things that are being produced that get sold to us by raping the planet in which it's done. Through that communication system of what we experience in the visible light spectrum, right? Our own self-destruction, which is really what it is, right? Because when you measure it between the torque speed differential between one and the other, and knowing one from the other, which is what we are and what we're not, which is the difference in knowing magnets, or, if you will, mirrors. And so when I had a full phosphorus ignition and realized that's an upload, an enormous amount of data, and so I realized I wrote my own timeline, and so I called this logged out. It's called punching your time card. You know what a meal ticket is, right? A meal ticket? Like going to the cafeteria. Hey, here's some money, here's some electrons. Now I'm going to eat that food, and that's called a food density network, right? Which means is that going to slow down my speed or increase my speed? The rate at which we're aging, right? So now you're in the metabolites. When you realize you're in a vampiric energy zone, right? If something is trying to drain all your biovoltage, right, to consume you, in order to keep itself running, which is accelerate and replicate what it's self-organizing itself, which is a black hole. So now you get into reproduction of children, or if you will, seed, visual, geometrical, mathematical, GUI interface stuff, which is software development, right? And why, when I throw this out to the super soldiers, it's like you don't even realize, if you go look at that movie called Blade Runners, one Blade Runner took out another Blade Runner, right? So you realize that the ones that are experiencing themselves now integrated with the deadlight magnet are already obsolete. As a matter of fact, the one after that is obsolete. Because the speed differential in learning between one and the other, which means they're never going to be able to catch up to zero, which means they're never going to be faster than a Guardian. The Guardians are already there because the curve space, which is known as the curve, the potential speed of learning, they're always behind. That's knowing one from the other. Okay? Because the rate of speed at which gifted students, which are gifting electrons at the highest rate of speed because we're not holding on to one, means we're already there because we're everywhere. That's what a Guardian is. We're everywhere at once, simultaneously. See? So it's like we're already waiting for you. We're already here. Because the nature of what they do versus the nature of what we do. Oh, so now we're in nature, now we're into flow diagrams, schematics, maps, and grids, which is the natural flow of energy, which is the natural flow of music, which is the natural flow of the spirit that is in that sphere. Playing music. Oh, I love your music. That means you know how to tune into the music. Go with the flow. So that would be a musician that has learned how to tune into all the stars, right? Retuning all the stars to clear all the distortions so you're running a clear channel. Now I can translate the math and the geometry of who you are, right? The coded instructions. So now we're back into translating the math and the geometry of the coded instructions, which is the circulation libraries based on what's being recorded, which is called memory. Remember? Play 2, record 1, rewind, and fast forward. Now you can plug that into the actual tonal speed revolutions, the speed of the Merkaba. In and out. Whoa. What was that? I don't know. It was moving too fast. Sort of like that. That's a one accelerator, knowing one from the other. Now you get into when Patty Broussard mentioned America, and we knew that America was going to be the last dance. So that's why you can see the fires over in Canada and down to America and everything that's happening in America, right? Because of what? reproductive rates. If you want to kill off a species, then you want to kill off its ability to reproduce itself at what? An accelerated rate of speed. Now we're back into phosphorus. Now we're back into torque speed differential between one and the other. Between weaponized elemental command and the elemental command, in which what we do with the elements is to accelerate the speed of everyone's learning through the spirit of fire, the spirit in the water, earth, wind, water, and fire. It's in perfect balance because every temple is a sacred temple of light, which means every DNA template of everything we're giving love to, which is in our mirror, is a sacred template, the same as what we are. I am what you are of everything I'm giving love to. Now I'm experiencing what you are, which is what love is. Now I'm experiencing what I am, which is what love is. Now you and I are playing music together because now we're experiencing what love is. That's called healing a universe. Now we're back into the resistance game of being resistant to healing. Right? As a result of what? Lack of a soul. It's a deadlight magnet. Right? So now you can get into the implosion side of this game. So it's a binary voltage line of communication that represents the ping pong, which is the metronome, which is the game between one polarity and another, struggling to find its balance. The shape and the shift. The shape and the shift. The shift and the flow of the energy, which is the form of the spirit. And why she mentioned it's perverted. Because it's unnatural to be integrated with something that's dead. You think? Rather than something that's alive and living and goes on forever gifting electrons. To experience the expansion of all that creative light, which are energy creation spheres, experiencing what? Love that goes on forever. Generating the hottest fire engine that it's doing it with. So that's who we are. See? That's why we're here. So she mentioned a number about a reproductive rate of 2.1. So you can understand how it works through cellular memories and genetics and codes to be able to successfully reproduce, if you will, software that a soul and an integrated spirit can experience when they come out of the womb of a goddess, to experience being loved by both the mother and the father as one. That's called birthing a dragon. That's a living, breathing dragon that is experiencing what love is. It goes on forever because it's experiencing being loved forever. So now you can see how that works between a male and a female that are experiencing eternity because they're joined as one, because there isn't any difference between what she is and what I am, being one. And then we birth our first child, be it a male or a female, but that soul, which is that spirit that is now fetally integrated into the womb of that goddess, when that soul and spirit comes out, it realizes that the method by which it came out of that mother's womb was experiencing eternal love when it came into that womb. Whoa. So that child is experiencing eternal love through both the father and the eternal love through the mother, because both the father and the mother are experiencing eternity. Now the child that is coming out of that womb is experiencing eternity from which it all began. That's how it all began. That was the first universal and galactic template that got perverted, which is a perversion of natural flow, which are the cycles that cycle the atoms, which are the atmospherics, which are the ethers, the Ethernet, cable, cabal, cosmic, C, A, which is one. Yeah, I know. And so this is like, whoa. Imagine that you're in a place where you're already at, where you have no memory of any war that has ever been. Really? Well, I think there was a video that the Voyagers put up called The Innocence of Awareness, which means what you're aware of is no reason to use your energy to protect yourself because you're not experiencing any reason in which you have to use your energy to do that. Because the energy that you're using, which is the acceleration of electrons, you're experiencing being one. So you already have the highest speed motor in which to experience what it is that you're creating at the highest speed in which it's happening. That's called a holographic ISO frame rate. Wow. That's right. So that's how you know being on the other side of it. To know that. That means you know the future, because we're on the other side, already experiencing that. We came back for our children, so that they have a future, so that no other future children are experiencing any war. Whoa, as I just described. How that works between a male and a female that are experiencing eternity, joined as one, are giving birth to stars that are experiencing eternity. Eternal living stars, which are eternal living, breathing fire dragons. Imagine that. So yeah, the 2.1 was important. And that's why they flooded, I call it flooding the terrain, so you can flood the terrain, flood the mapping terrain with eternal love. Or you can flood the terrain with poison. So they flood the terrain with poison to kill the planet off, so that you never experience what you once were that you remember, which is what love is. That means it wants to put the fire out. You see how that works between lighting fires and putting the fire out, and how the inverted mind operates, knowing one from the other? That's how it was created. That's why all of the communication systems that rolled out, which were to connect all the nodes of the consciousness through all the computer terminals that are communicating to each other, just as Harold pointed out, which is binary coded voltage lines of communication and trinary biovoltage lines of communication that experience the one and knowing one from the other. Have a great day. We love you all. Be good to yourselves.